Alrighty then. How is everybody doing? All right. So, if you're new to the channel, what I like to do is actually we can go ahead and get rid of this. I don't need this. What I like to do is have a weekend AMA, a weekend live stream every single weekend. Just basically try and answer your questions. And we start off with a question that I get from the comments. And this week we're going to be talking about job hopping. So after we get done with that, I'll take questions for about an hour, and hopefully I can provide some value, a little bit of mentoring, if you will. So on that note, one thing I also wanted to do is when I started these, have a shout out either to myself or to a sponsor. We don't have a sponsor today, so I'm going to be my own sponsor. So if you would like to support me and you say, look, Dylan, I really like these weekend AMAs that you do, and we can sort of dive into it for about 1.5 minutes on each one of these, but I wish I could sit down. I wish I could, hop on a Skype call and you and I could really just hash out this one topic and we could talk about it for an hour. Well, you can. If you go to codingtutorials360.com, you'll notice there is a tutor section, and I offer 1-hour mentorings where we do exactly that on topic of your choice for $90 for the hour. So if that's something you're interested in, my little shout out to myself there. I have one going on later today. I've been doing them for several years now, and hopefully they've been able to help some people. So the topic today is, should you job hop as a developer? It's something that I have thought about. Like, okay, I'm trying to define my career. How is the best way? What is the best way for me to succeed as a developer? How can I grow? How can I grow as a developer? How can I grow as a salary? How can I get my salary to grow? That's really it, right? At the end of the day, you're job hopping so that you can mature in one way or another, and you have to figure out what the pros and the cons are. So this is my take on it. If you think, and we joke about this, but Engineer Truth and I have a saying, excuse me, about what is, because there's a lot of this, the people who say not to job hop, oftentimes talk about company loyalty, this and that, and it's a very strange thing, because nowadays there aren't companies that you're with for 20 years and then you grow within there and you get promoted and all that. That's just not really a realistic thing. And oftentimes you're getting paid much less. So what is loyalty worth is one question that we should answer when talking about job hopping. And it's about $10,000. That's the equation to put a finite amount of money on it. When it comes to the job market, what is loyalty worth? What is that transition from one company to another worth? And it's about $10,000. Once you hit the low end 5-digit, you need to consider leaving your job. And what I mean by that is, if there's a company that today it's in your same city, you don't have to move, you don't, all the sort of things are lined up. It's a great, company that you would normally be interested in, and they're offering you $10,000 or more dollars. You need to have the conversation of, do I want to stay here at my current job? And what do the raises look like that they're giving out to the other employees, for instance? This is very important too, because let's say that I could leave right now and get a $15,000 to $20,000 raise. This is an accurate statement based off my skill set, based off the job offers that I get, around $15,000 to $20,000. Now, why am I not leaving? I say, loyalty is worth about $10,000 because it's not the only thing. For one, I think you should spend at least 1 year at a job, a bare minimum of 1 year. And then if you don't like your raise at 1 year, I think you're completely entitled, if there's a $10,000 or $15,000 raise out there, to go and leave, because you have to look out for yourself, right? Because this company, at the end of the day, if they let you go, you're on your own, right? They're not going to be there for you. It's just not the way the world works. But in reality, it's a hard thing to juggle. Is how often can I leave, and what will that have on my resume? Now, I think that the truth of the matter is that as long as you have skills, as long as you can explain why you left, well, I wasn't learning anything, or you probably don't want to say I left for $20,000 more, but you probably would. There are circumstances. I left my old workplace because I wanted to be with developers who were better than I was. I wanted to be with developers who were learning the latest and the greatest, and were going to challenge me, and we're going to be doing interesting projects and things that I felt like I wasn't. Now, did I get a pay raise? Of course I did, because I'm always going to make sure I do. And that's what you need to do as you job hop as well. So I think we're in an economy, and I think most people would agree with this, except the people who are just wrong, that you're probably going to, in 10 years, it's not going to be unrealistic for you to have 4 or 5 different jobs. I think that is a pretty realistic expectation. If you have 5 jobs in 10 years, you spend an average of 2 years. My understanding from, I wish I had the article, is that you're going to spend, on average, an average chef spends a year and a half. So I don't know. I personally hate the fact that I have to job hop, I feel like. And that's one of the things is, do you want to job hop? Probably not. But is it in your best interest to job hop? Yes, it is. Statistically speaking, you're going to get paid more money. You're going to get better promotions. You're going to get promoted faster than just putting in your time at a company. And it's almost counterintuitive, because here you have invested time and energy into this one resource being your organization. But unfortunately, there's an organization that doesn't know you very well other than a phone call or a resume or LinkedIn. And they're saying, look, man, they ain't treating you right, dog. We're going to hook you up. How much you making? We'll throw 10, 15,000 on top of it. Yeah. And so it's a gamble 100%, because you're going to a new organization. But oftentimes job hopping is in your best interest, and you have to not be afraid of that. So when you go into your 1-year evals, your 2-year evals, if you are getting the 3 to 5% raises, you have to understand that 5% raise, you can leave today and go get a 20%. And it's in your best interest most of the time to do it, as long as you have the skills to go and get it, right? So that's my thoughts on job hopping. It's just part of the world, and unfortunately, it's kind of strange, right? You have a job, but this other company that wants to hire you will give you more money. Why don't you just pay me more money so I don't have to leave? And that's kind of my thoughts on job hopping. Now, not everyone can do it. You have to have the skills to do it, to back it up, but something to consider. All right. So that's my bit on job hopping. I'll probably do an entire video on it. I was doing some research a little while back, and I had a video I recorded with stats and, why it doesn't affect your career as much. Because the main concern with job hopping is that, oh, well, people are going to see that you jump jobs every 1, 2, 3 years, but like that's the world we live in. Of course they're going to see that. So it's I don't know what you're really expecting, right? So like my not CTO, my boss basically put in his resignation yesterday because an opportunity came along that he couldn't say no to. I respect that. And even in that position, he was at the company 4 years. In developer terms, 4 years is a long commitment. In most people's like outdated mentality, 4 years at a company is sort of the bare minimum I feel like people are expecting. But as developers, it's not even so much a money thing. It's just about doing what's right for yourself. Like, it's like you don't want to be greedy, right? You're like, look, man, I make decent money, but if someone's willing to pay me more money, why aren't you? And it's almost like I feel you should feel offended that you're not getting what you're worth, because if you're not going to go and get it, no one's going to go get it for you. And that's kind of where the job hopping comes in. Let's see. Let's answer some questions. What is the smoke? Is my essential oil diffuser here? That's pretty much it. My favorite language, JavaScript is my main language of choice. If I had to say specifically, I really am loving TypeScript, although TypeScript is just a superset of JavaScript. The main thing is just assigning the optional parameters, having easier ES6, having return types, having param types, and going from there. Can we add a JSP or Node.js to a website that's made on WordPress platforms? I'm not quite sure. Robert R, how you doing? I'm good, man. I went out drinking last night with some coworkers. I had a very interesting conversation. So as you guys know, as developers, we don't really work with women most of the time. This is a general statement, 100%, but 99% of the devs I've ever worked with have been male. And we went out last night, and one girl from marketing came out, and it was very interesting because I was able to pick her brain on different side of the world that I just don't see. And it was, I don't want to say too much because you may not appreciate me talking about this, but it's just interesting to be able to talk to somebody who, you know, has kids and what that's like, and something that I have very opinionated things about children and marriage and things like that. And it's just nice to be able to have this very interesting conversation. It's like, you ever guys kind of go down the rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're watching 4 or 5 forensic files or something like that. It was kind of like that about pregnancy and children, and I found it very fascinating because I'm so on the other end of the spectrum, but I like to really see where the people are coming from. Now, I completely disagree a lot of the times, but I like having open, honest conversation. So it was very, very enlightening about it. So, am I a front end developer? I'm a front end engineer. All right. Yeah. JavaScript versus PHP, JavaScript always. Will AI and machine learning kill the web dev jobs? If AI and machine learning kill the web dev jobs, they're going to kill all the jobs. So I think trying to get at DevOps, I don't blame you. What's with all the Wix hate? It's just a joke, man. It's just not. I mean, look, Wix and WordPress and Squarespace, they all exist for a reason because there's a market for it. Whether you should learn that shit to be a developer is a completely different story. And I mean, the answer is no. But you know, it ain't so much hate as it is just jokes, man. How to learn data science completely. I think the fact that you're trying to learn something completely in software and technology really shows your lack of understanding, because you'll never learn anything completely in this space, because it's an evolving technology. It's an evolving field, right? So like, you can say, I want to learn front end development completely. It's like, well, 10 years ago, it was vanilla JavaScript. A couple of years later, it was jQuery, and then various other frameworks. A year later, you're you know, Git is popping up all over the place. Now you're doing Git. A year later, you're doing maybe Angular JS. A year later, there's 5 different build tools for you to choose. You're doing Bower. Maybe NPM comes out. Node. You got Webpack. You know, Gulp, Grunt. All right. A year later, you're swapping text editors. You see where I'm going with this? Is you're not gonna learn it completely because it's ever evolving. Do you go to school? I currently go to school. Off topic, are the Angular videos coming soon? No, man. School has taken a lot of my time. I will say that by the end of this weekend, I will have all the videos done for the JavaScript course. So it's going to be about 8 to 10 hours of content. Pretty cool stuff. It's about 6 hours of me going through JavaScript and what I think is important. And then about 30 algorithms with intro. Hey, this is how I solved it. Hints, not, and then you try and solve it on your own, and this is your objective. I give some examples, and then if you can't solve it, I have the solution for you to practice. Basically, so you get introduced to JavaScript, and like, okay, well, this is a map function, this is reduce, and I go through it all. Basically, every method call, and there's about 150 videos going over functions and stuff like that in JavaScript, and that's so that you can say, okay, I sort of got reference to this, now I can go back and check it out. So unfortunately, the Angular videos have taken a side turn, but I'm going to do a couple things with Angular on my channel, on Free Code Camp's channel, hopefully on a second course for that. So it's just, the opportunity cost of going to college. Not only the financial, but the opportunity cost. When can we expect that course in Udemy? So I have about 9 other algorithms I need to film, and which I'll do this weekend, and then I have to submit it. So probably a week to 2 weeks. That would be my guess. I have to submit it, get them to approve it, make any changes, and go from there. It's gonna be like $14.99 with the coupon. Nothing crazy. The last one I sold for 10 with the coupon, but I think this one is a lot more content. Took a lot longer. $14.99 is pretty good. I'll give a few away for free too. But yeah, I was gonna do for free code camp. I was just gonna pull up one of their beta projects, bust it out in Angular, do an Angular tutorial, send a free code camp. I was gonna basically, so I have 3 videos I actually want to film for. I did a poll on the channel about 3 videos I wanted to do for free code camp, which one you guys would like to see, but I think I'm gonna just do all 3. One is gonna be an Angular project from one of free code camp's beta projects. The other is going to be a Ask a Dev video. So I'll talk about some general advice similar to, we talked about, skills that you need in the workplace, hard skills, soft skills, something like that. And then the other will be a Dolan video reviewing free code camp, which I hope they accept all 3. But those are things that I want to work on this weekend. Is Dolan sleep on the couch? Dolan's always sleeping, and he ain't out there grinding anymore. What about web dev jobs and AI and machine learning? I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you too much about it. I'm sure there are some, but it's not something I know about. Where's the smoke coming from? It's the essential oil diffuser. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. As the chat's a little dead here, I am doing school. As I've mentioned, I'm in Western Governors University software development program. I have finished 2 courses, and I'm almost ready to finish my 3rd one, which will be on just an introduction to IT, which is like one of the very general ed courses that for whatever reason I didn't qualify for. And then I think I'll do a video update in it. This is the sugar-free monster. So that's something that I will be doing. A lot of people have asked me about it, and I think I might do a video about not changing your major. A lot of people ask me, hey, I'm in this major. Should I switch to computer science? Should I switch to software development? And my stance on it, and there can be people who would disagree, but you really don't learn much in college in terms of what you're going to use in the working world and what's going to work for you in the working world. And so my advice for most of those people is just finish your degree and to grind it out, even though you probably don't like your degree. You probably think it's fucking useless. And the grass is always greener on the other side, right? That's the grass behind me right there. My sense is that you have to learn so much out of school that it's your goal should be to get out of school as quick as possible. Now, that's not to say that a degree is not worth your time, energy, or money. I am doing a degree right now, program, but in terms of skill set, probably not going to learn much. Your degree, most of the time, is going to be there to open doors. And it doesn't really matter what key it is. The degree, any degree itself is a key, and you're gonna have to learn all the skills outside of it. So What was I drinking last night? So we ordered a flight of beers, and then there's this brewery called Motorworks in the Tampa area, or Manatee County rather, and got some flight of beers on Groupon. It's like $40. You can get 4 flights, and then you get 4 cups and 2 giant growlers to take with you. Now the growlers aren't filled up, but you could if you wanted to. So I had that, and then I had 2 beers. Then April came and picked me up. Hey Dylan, got a perfect question for the topic. Not from the United States, but currently working remote for the for a U.S. company as an intern. Despite that, I'm doing junior work. Finished a boot camp. I'm super passionate, always looking to improve myself and the process. But the company won't make me a junior until I graduate. Is this a normal practice in the U.S.? I mean, it's hard to say, right? So like, I don't know. It's a policy at their company 100% by the sounds of it, but that doesn't mean that you can't just leave and go get another job at different. So every company is different. Whether it's a standard practice or not, it's probably not a standard practice to hire a remote dev who is an intern college student. That's not a standard practice in itself, and they're probably a little bit taking advantage of you. So I mean, would I say it's a normal practice? I would say not. I would say that having a bachelor's to get a junior level role is a normal practice. I don't know if that answers your question. It's one of those questions where it's hard to say, because I say this all the time, where most of the time you have to give pretty general advice because you want most people to be able to interpret it and take the good bits and pieces out of it to apply to their situation. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is every company is slightly different. And I don't suggest doing what Oscar is saying here, is take the gamble and say, make me a junior dev or I'm out. What I suggest for you is, if you do that, same day you have actually a contract, not a, hey, we're interested in hiring you from another company. That same day you have a contract from another company that will give you what it is that you want. And if they say, look, no, we're not going to, you say, hey, I really want you to make me a junior dev, up my salary, all this sort of stuff. They say no, then you say, okay, well, here's my 2 weeks. And then you immediately accept the contract from the other company. That's how I would handle that situation. Falsetto says, thanks for the awesome content, man. Hey, no problem. I appreciate you watching, man. Do you think most companies expect a large turnover of new employees? In software, I think they probably should. It's one of those things where, how do you stop it? And unfortunately, the answer is very simple. You just pay very well. Something a lot of companies don't want to do. So the fact that I could leave and get a $20,000 raise or something like that is ridiculous. You should be paying me the absolute top of the market. And if you aren't, of course, you're going to put yourself in a situation to have turnover. And it's like companies saying that they can't find good talent to fill the stacks. No. There's talent out there. They're just all employed. And if you want to steal them away, no one's going to leave their company for the same amount of money. Here you are, people. You probably moved for the job, close to work. You're doing all this sort of stuff. So if you want to keep your employees, you have to keep them happy. One excellent way to keep people happy at a job, which you only work for the salary. Like most of us, if we were independently wealthy, wouldn't be waking up Monday through Friday to go into the fucking office. That's not to say that you don't like your job. It is to say that you go in there to get a return, and that return is a salary, is benefits, is all that sort of stuff. It is a financial return. Now, if you want to keep people happy, you have to increase that financial return. And when it comes to developers, if you can leave for a 20% raise, if they want to keep you, they need to give you a 20% raise. That's how I look at it. But if you don't, you should very well expect a high turnover. If you're paying on the low end of the market, you're going to get developers who are going to show up for 1 year, who are going to probably not like the job very much, because most time when it's so funny, right? So the super cheap, low paying like web dev jobs out there, it's always the worst workplace, right? Because they don't respect their employees to begin with, which is why they pay bad. But then you have like these well-paying jobs have much more respect for employees, much happier employers, and it's just so counterintuitive. But I think a lot of places that don't want to meet market standards or exceed, in reality, exceed the market standards, you're going to have high turnover, because you have to expect people to look at, I'm paying, for instance, take me. I'll use me as an example. I have 3 cats I have to pay food for. My girlfriend is unemployed, love her to death, got no problem with it, but I'm helping support her financially. I'm going to school right now, and I'm saving money right now for the first time in my life, last year and a half, so that my mother's getting old and she may need some help, and got to have money saved. My brother's not working, so it's kind of falls onto me. And so I have all these, I may not have any children, but I do have responsibilities. And why would I say no to money to help me handle those responsibilities? Because all that does for me by staying is I get less money. It's not a greed thing. It's a market thing. And it's like, well, I have my responsibilities I have to handle. And unfortunately, the decisions at a company to not support me in that aspect may cause me to leave. And that's probably true for a lot of people, right? Imagine I had kids also. I'm like, okay, well, I have little bastard kids running around here. And I need to make sure that they have diapers. I need to make sure that they're fed. I need to make sure that they're clothed. I need to make sure that the medical bills are paid, all this sort of stuff, a mortgage. So that's my thoughts on the high turnover rate in the market. There's no high turnover rate when you're paying 30% above market rate. That's the truth of the matter. If the market rate for a dev is 100,000, you're paying 130. Good luck. Your devs are going to be pretty happy. They're going to stay where they're at, because then they have to go find someone who's going to pay them 150, or then they have to find not only pay them 150, but also be a good workplace. So is PowerShell worth learning? Most of that stuff, like, terminal stuff, you just pick up here or there. I don't know that you need to take your time and go and pick it up. I'm living and learning in Okinawa, Japan. I see the majority of companies use Ruby. Is it worth learning if I intend to move back to the States? I mean, any language will transition nicely. I just don't think I don't think that Ruby has a ton of jobs in comparison to JavaScript, but that's just my take on it. The easiest way, Josh, to tell is just go ahead and do some research on the job search sites. Go on ZipRecruiter, go on LinkedIn, and look up Ruby, look up JavaScript, compare the salaries, compare the roles. Just take one afternoon and do it. I think that is probably the best way of doing it. That's how I've done it in the past. Do you think pimping will make me as much as a web developer? If not, what about pimping and selling weed? The only software I either mess with is either pink or green. Yeah, I don't know, man. Good point of responsibility you have to handle, even if you don't have kids going through that right now. It is one of those things. I think oftentimes you look at, I'm not a young guy. I'm 30, but I don't have the traditional. I don't have a wife. I don't have children. And so sometimes it may be perceived like, look, why are we giving this guy a salary bump? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And part of it is I don't need to have children to have responsibilities. I don't need my girlfriend of, going on 8 years to be my wife for you to think that it is worth salary. My skills should denote the amount of money I make. But it's a very strange thing, because a lot of times there is some sort of connotation that goes with it. If you let it, I do not allow such things in my salary and my role. Do you own or rent? I right now rent. I've been looking at buying a place, but some things are in the air in terms of the career, in terms of where I'm at. So my girlfriend potentially I wanted to buy, but she has been unable to land a role, and so it kind of put a little stress on us buying. Even though we, I make, I make decent enough money, and I could pay the mortgage by myself, but it's more of a stress thing. Like I want her to be working as well. I like to save half my checks. So for those of you who don't know, I save for the most part. And the last 6 weeks were a little bit different because I started school again, so I haven't been able to save that. I've been paying for it out of pocket. But I typically, since I've been working the last year and a half, have been saving 50% of my income. So it's one of those things that we just talked about job hopping. We just talked about potentially, if you don't like your 1 year review, going from there and having a very open, honest conversation about it. And if I buy a place, you can't do that. It's a little bit harder. You have to more things to consider. But I have been looking into investment property. Yes. How hard is it now to get a job as a developer without a degree? Look, man, I mean, I'm a good example of a developer without a degree. I would say most people can't do it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of selling yourself. I've been coding every day, working at it every day for 3 or 4 years, and I had to do portfolio projects. I had to do internships. I had to do a coding channel. I did a lot to make myself stand out, and that's what you have to do if you're going to go in there without a degree. Now you're going to have to work hard regardless without a degree, but the degree is going to open the doors that you otherwise are going to have to open on yourself, and that's where it gets a little hard. 8 years, why not get married? I don't know, man. I just never have ever wanted to do such things, and I have a very strange sense on marriage. Are there many foreigners working as developers in the United States at an entry level, or only the best outside developers? So this will probably vary by company, but the companies where they've had a lot of external that I've worked at, and it's only been 3 software companies, have been sort of senior devs that they're hiring to work for them. That was been my experience, or entire organizations that were building out certain aspects of your project. So. I feel like if my boss is watching this live stream, I'm gonna be called into the office in the morning. So you think about leaving us, motherfucker? Huh? That's not what I said, man. Been at my new job for just over 3 months. Was getting under the low end of the average wage. Spoke with my boss about it and got my salary bumped up. But I have my official salary review coming up in 3 months. Can I still ask for a raise? You can do whatever you want. Now you can ask for it. You may not get it. I encourage you to ask for your official salary review, but I also encourage you to be prepared as to why you deserve such things. So Nico Anime says, "Hi Dylan, as a full stack developer, should you learn the MongoDB Express node stack for backend, or PHP, Python, and MySQL, or even both?" So I mean, the MongoDB node Express, this is the thing, is there's not a ton of jobs, but it's a very fun and exciting stack to work on in your personal stuff, and it's a good way for you to get kind of familiar with some general concepts in the backend. Now, PHP and MySQL, and you threw Python in there, but I don't think that really has much to do with. But PHP usually goes with MySQL in this case. I think is excellent as well, even though I don't like PHP because of the sheer amount of jobs. So something to consider there as well. If I intend to do a big project series where I build a side project step by step, I mean, it's something that's a possibility without a doubt. The problem with that, Josh, is that I don't have the time right now. Until I finish my degree, I don't have time. I barely have time to do the YouTube channel and the courses and the book I'm writing. So like those are the big projects right now. I have 2 courses I need to finish. I have a book that I want to finish writing this year. And of course I have the YouTube channel, which connects it all together. So like until I finish my degree, there's no time for one more big project. And I do want to do big projects. I want to start a couple of small websites that have maybe some build tools on them, some dev tools. Just throw a couple ads on there, see if I can make some minor ad revenue, maybe like $50 a month on these sites, and just continue throwing them up here or there. Like that's always been a goal and dream of mine. And that's something I want to do. So it is definitely a possibility, but not in the near future. It's probably going to take me about 6 to 9 months, maybe 9 months, closer to 9 months to finish my degree. And then after that, that will be when I can kind of dive into other things. But even, who knows, maybe then I'll be like, hey, I want to start going to meetups and doing speeches and stuff like that. That's something that I've thought about, going to conferences and seeing if anybody would care to hear what I have to say. I don't even know what I would say, but this is something some people have suggested I do. They're like, look, man, you're on a YouTube channel. People are watching your shit a little bit. Why don't you go to conferences and just talk about something? I'm like, what would I talk about? It's like, I don't really have anything to talk about. He's like, and then one of my coworkers was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't have anything to talk about. You put out a video every week talking about something. You could figure it out. I was like, that's probably a pretty good point. But yeah, it's something I would do. I just don't know that I would do it anytime soon. How many carbs in a sugar-free Monster? 14 in the whole can. No, excuse me, 7 in the whole can. This is an essential oil diffuser. Front-end dev at the moment, trying to pick up back-end knowledge for this job. Am I working? Any ideas how to learn back-end? Just start building CRUD apps, man. Create, read, update, delete. That's kind of my best suggestion, is just build a couple admin tools that updates tables, edit tables, add rows to tables, delete rows from tables. That's really, just start with CRUD, some basic CRUD. As a fresh grad, do you think it would be a good idea to work at a startup having a minimum salary rather than going big company with a higher salary? I'm a full stack developer here. I think your best decision is go where the higher salary is. And once you set that baseline salary, you can go to a startup and get a similar salary. I don't know. I mean, unless the startup's giving you equity or there's some other reason, there is some pros and cons, right? At a larger company, you're going to sometimes get lost in the weeds a little bit. You're not going to get as much attention. At a startup, you're going to maybe not get as much attention, but you're going to have a lot of responsibility, which is equally cool. It just kind of depends on where you value. But if I had to give you a hard set answer, I would go for a higher salary, assuming that all things are equal, right? If it's a shitty company, like I turned down a job at a company for $15,000 more than I make now, partly because the devs I met, half of them look stressed out of their mind. And I was just like, that's not the environment for me if that's how they're feeling. So, all things being equal, go the higher salary, do a year there, do 2 years there. And if it's not a perfect fit and you want to maybe go to a startup environment, there's plenty of startups that pay a ton of money to get great developers. And so you can build out your career that way. How's your diet lifestyle change going? It's going all right. So I am struggling with monsters. For those of you know, I go on these things where I quit energy drinks and whatnot. But for the most part, it is doing all right. I've been exercising. Your boy's been doing the perfect push-up in the morning. See the guns? Might have to blur that out. Might not be appropriate. You're not ready to see the gun show. But I have I've been doing the perfect push-up in the morning. I've been stretching a little bit. It's been slow to get back exercising. I am being more conscious of what I eat out. I go out to lunch every day with my coworkers, and I try to set a dollar amount as well as a calorie amount. So I don't order two things. I order one. It's typically $10 or less, which I actually look at what's on the calorie. So I am trying to lower my calorie intake. And then for groceries at home, we eat vegan. We eat a variation of vegan and vegetarian, and sometimes I cheat. But I let April go do the grocery shopping, and so she usually gets vegetables and fruits and all that. It is slow, but doing better than nothing, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. My internship is coming to an end. It's a really small startup, only 4 of us. When we have to talk about me going full time, possibly discuss salary, should I negotiate? I think you should have a number in your head, and I think you should have a job lined up before you even have that, so that you can negotiate very aggressively. So that is my take on it. But yes, you should. I know that one of my coworkers at a previous job went from contract to salary, and they were just gonna, hey, this is what we're gonna give you, and he was like, whoa, hold up, I'm gonna need $20,000 more on that because that's where I'm at. And they eventually gave him $15,000 more, but they were just gonna try and bulldoze him in at a certain rate. Don't get bulldozed. But in order for you not to get bulldozed, just be willing to walk away if you need to. If you can't, it's one of those things where you have to, if you're going to be aggressive in your yearly reviews, you have to not be a bullshitter. So like, here's the thing. I go in, I have my 1 year review in 6 months from now or something like that. Say I can get another job. All of us can get another job once you have a few years and stuff, but get another job that pays significantly more. When you go in there and you're making that argument, you need to be prepared to say, like, it needs to be a true statement, for one, is what I'm trying to say. And because if it is, you're not worried about putting your 2 weeks in. You're not worried about not having a job at the end of that. And they need to see that on your face to affect their decision. That's my take on it. Does learning data structure improve my logic ability? If it is, what is the best algorithm to learn? So the data structure stuff like bubble sort, merge sort, it's gonna be it's gonna help. I have forgotten all that stuff. It's been a while. But yeah, it has its benefits. It has its benefits mainly in technical interviews. So there are, especially when you go to something like Google or Facebook or something like that, they're going to ask you to do all those computer science-y sort of things. My favorite monster, it would be one of the tea ones. I like them all, to be honest. It just kind of depends. The orangeade one's pretty good. The Roja tea one's nice. The pink lemonade, if I'm feeling like a little bit of sweetness in my life. The lemon one's not bad. Shout out to our Brazilian friends, Henrique Schwingel. Is this an arrow function or what? This is saying the previous state is toggling colon. It looks like it is. This is reactive. It's probably dealing with states. It is. It looks like it's some sort of function that takes in an object and does something with it. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what I'm doing. I've tried to do this cold turkey thing and all this sort of stuff, and it never works. And so instead, what I'm doing is I'm trying moderation, small minute steps that eventually end up in a healthier lifestyle, right? It's like you walk around the block, for instance. You don't intend, your only workout is not going to be to walk around the block, but after 5 days of that, you say, look, let me jog one of these times. And then, then you're like, all right, that sucked. Let's go back to walking. And then next week you jog twice, right? So just kind of depends. What is a bad entry-level salary? All you have to do is look up your area, look up the junior level roles, and go from there. Hey, bro, finally got an internship as a front-end developer. So your videos helped a ton. Thank you. You're welcome, man. Now, if you buy my 67 steps for $599.99, I make sure that you get a job next time. No, I'm just kidding. Good luck, man. Good luck with your internship. Have I already spoken about job hopping pros and cons? I did a little bit of a ramble in the beginning of the video. Yeah, so the topic of the video will always be talked about at the start of the video. What do I have to say about Vue.js? So I know a lot of people are very passionate about it, but it doesn't mean that it's worth learning. This is my thoughts on Vue.js, and it's going to be how I see most things when it comes to technology. Is it depends first where you're at in your career. The first question is, should you learn Vue.js? If you want to learn as a hobby project, sure, no problem. You learn whatever you want. You want to go learn Pascal just because you want to play around with some old ancient dinosaur Jurassic Park shit? I got no problem with that. Now, if you're like our boy Aske Rajput here, who was trying to get an internship, Vue.js may not be the one because there aren't a ton of Vue.js jobs in terms of the front end. Are there some? Of course there is. But you should probably be learning React. You should probably be learning Angular because that's where the bulk of the front end jobs are. That's kind of my take on it. But some people disagree. I know Program with Eric thinks that, I think this is awful advice, but I know that he has said that, you know, there is a benefit to learning the lesser known frameworks because less people are learning them, which I think is awful advice. It's like, hey, there's less people learning this thing where there's less jobs. By the way, they're going to just hire devs who are qualified, who are in Angular or React, and they say, oh, this guy can learn Vue, instead of hiring someone do the sheer low-end jobs there are. But that's my take on it, is that it depends what you're trying to get out of it, I guess. What do you say about a system engineer? Where should they start? I don't even know what a system engineer is. So less jobs like a Wix developer. It always, oh man, I saw Chris Hawks. I didn't watch the video, but I saw Chris Hawks do a video on Wix code. I just saw it pop up on my stream. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I was just like, how much do they pay you, Chris? Because they emailed me. They wanted me to do a video, and I couldn't do it. Oh my goodness. I got emailed by 2 or 3 different reps of them from 2 or 3 different reps for Wix code, and I just couldn't do it, man. I was talking with them a little bit, and the person I was dealing with was kind of difficult, and but I saw that in my stream. I was like, hey man, get that cheddar, Chris. Get that bread. All right. I'm gonna watch it this weekend. I haven't had a chance. I saw it when I was like going to bed. I was like, oh dude. Not the Wix code, dude. Not the Wix code. If I had one book recommendation, what would it be? So I used to read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy books, and there's a series called Xanth by Piers Anthony, and they have about 100 different books. I've read them all except the ones that came out in like last 10 years. But the very first book is called A Spell for a Chameleon. So if you're interested in fantasy books, it's a light read, usually about 200-300 pages a book. I encourage you to check that out. The whole year I worked to land a job in the industry. Now I've got it. I feel like the job has taken over the other side. E.g., I don't have the energy or curiosity to do side projects and learning like before. Well, have I faced something similar? Can you offer any advice? So this is something that happens when you are content. So you are probably very content with your workplace and you have no interest of job hopping or getting a larger salary. Now, if you do, you'll learn the latest and the greatest, and it'll be fun and exciting, and you'll start a project that you want to do and that you're eager about and that you have a hobby. But it sounds like you are very content where you're at, which is fine. But you don't have to do side projects outside of work. Should you? Yeah, it's going to always increase your salary. You're always going to be the developer that they want. And honestly, I've never not wanted to do a side project, but I do think that people go through waves. There's been maybe 2 or 3 days in the last 5 years where I really just didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do any of this. I was just wondering if I should go back to, I just do the 40 hours at the job. I'll stop studying. I'll stop the YouTube. I'll go back to just playing Final Fantasy, League of Legends, jump back into World of Warcraft, and just forget about all the extra stuff, right? Forget about writing the book, forget about starting podcasts, forget about the YouTube channel, forget about studying, forget about side projects, courses. But it's rare for me. It usually passes. It's happened maybe 3 days in the last 5 years. But I have found that I actually enjoy this stuff, and that oftentimes it's just other things that are bothering me. But I would say try to find out why you don't have energy and curiosity, and do you actually enjoy it? Because that's one of the things I kind of like. Are you enjoying coding at your current job, or is it just a job? There's a lot of people who enjoy coding as a side project. It's kind of like music, right? Like maybe you enjoy playing music, maybe you enjoy that. But the second that you have to now be in a band, the second that you have to now be on a schedule, you're forced to do it. It's no longer something you choose to do, but you're forced to do. It may very well be that you just want to have programming as a hobby. So something to consider. So if they offered me a job, how do I negotiate my salary? Well, the first time I ever negotiated my salary was they asked me, this was my very first dev job, what is it that you're expecting to get paid? And my response was, I want to get paid the average salary based off of the area for that role, which was about $60,000, $62,000, and then I got a $5,000 bump after 3 months. So about $67,000. That was my first dev job. And to me, that is a very fair statement of they want to pay you this. You say, look, this is what I think the average is. This is why I'm worth it. And I think that's fair. I think your argument here is to make a fair statement. And once you get, because the experience is really for your first job, the most important thing. Once you have that, everything else kind of goes the way, so you can do just fine. But that is where I started with. On salary, and I've been staying late at work and keeping up in my coding experience. I don't get paid more for this, though. I like to work more than my own projects, but not sure if I should work at home. So you should definitely learn outside of your job. And when it comes for your yearly review, you should make sure that you are well prepared to explain how you are a better developer than you were last year and why they need to pay you more for that. Now, if they say, look, we don't give a fuck that you did 300 hours in courses, you built courses, you wrote a book, you gave speeches, you did a YouTube channel, you got these certifications, you got a degree, then you say, okay, I don't give a fuck about you. And then you leave and get a $20,000 pay bump for people who do care. That's it, guys. That's what it is. If you are getting disrespected at your job, you're putting hours in, you're building your skill set up, you go. You say, look, I put in the work outside of work to better my skill set. My skills are better. I am better. I get better pay. That's the concept. But you have to be willing to do that. A lot of people, you have to be willing to go there. Should I pull the trigger on the Angular 360 on my cart? Hey, I would. That thing's got almost a 5-star rating. I'm just saying. It's a great introductory project. If you're just looking like, hey, I just want to get my toes wet in Angular and have some fun. It's about 3 hours of content. You could probably finish it in a weekend or a week, and I think it'll be fun for you. It's not going to teach you everything, but like if you just want to do your very first Angular project, it's great for that. We set it up so that you can actually build your own features at the end. I do wireframes, stuff like that. Slightly different course than how people normally do their courses. I think it's a solid learning process. I absolutely enjoy coding. I like the ultimate goal I once have, which was to have a dev job. It's kind of still, I'm wondering what's next. What's next is for you to grow as a developer. You need to make sure that you're twice the developer you are next year. You need to make sure that if you were only doing front end, now doing back end. You need to build your own projects. You need to build your personal portfolio site. You need to make sure that your GitHub is looking fantastic. You're making sure that your LinkedIn is on point. You're making sure that you are developing your skills. You're very early on in your career. Maybe you want to do some large projects where now you have a skill set now. You have a skill set now that is in demand and that you can use outside of work. So with that skill set, you're able to go and build out projects, build things that you're like, hey, I can get some ad revenue. I can start a site and do all this sort of crazy stuff. Start a project where you can make a few bucks. The easiest way, guys, to stay motivated with a project is just to make some money from it. Honestly, the first time I got a check from YouTube, it was a long while. It was about 6 months before I made that $100, right? It was about 6 months before I made the first $100 for my YouTube channel, but that was like, hell yeah. It's only $100. I've been working at it for 6 months, but when you start getting those checks in anything in life, you make a little bit of money. It's so much more rewarding because now you have a financial incentive and you're seeing the fruits of your labor at the end of the day. Can you get a software dev job with an IT degree, or should I just do computer science? You can do either one. I mean, I got one without a degree, so you definitely can do it with an IT degree. As a matter of fact, my software dev course is software development degree. It's more of an IT degree than it is a computer science degree. How should I make money from projects? How to find clients? That's all. That's a very large question. C++ or Python? I would say C#. Now, Python, between those two, Python is probably the best. All right, guys. So I like to end these live streams. I think we've been going about an hour. Let me check here. How long have we been doing this thing? Yeah, we've been going about an hour. So I like to end my live streams on a final thought. I think we'll circle back to the beginning where we talked about job hopping. One of the things that we talked about was looking out for your best interest. But we really only talked about, and I get some shit about this in my videos on occasion, about only talking about the money aspect. And money, one of the reasons I focus on it is because it is a big deal. It is a big deal for me. But money is not everything. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I like to openly talk about money because most people don't. And there's a problem with that because it's such a large part of our life, whether we want to admit it or not. And money is not everything, but it is definitely something to consider when you're working a job. It's one of the larger things to consider. And you need to look out for your best interest. Now, your best interest may be financially, you need to increase that situation. Now, it could be that you're happy at the company that you're at that's very flexible with your schedule because you're taking care of your mother who's sick, or you're taking care of your children, or it gives you flexibility. That may be your best interest. So don't think that the finances are the only thing to consider, because they're not. But they are something to consider, and it needs to play a factor in your decision when you job hop or if you job hop. So that's today's final thought. Just consider all the angles. Understand that money is not everything, but it's definitely something to consider. And that's part of the reason I talk about it so openly, because a lot of times people, this is kind of a hush hush. Don't talk about salary negotiation. Don't talk about job hopping, because then you'll get fired the next day. So it's one of those things where it's better to talk about these things than not. And I encourage you to just do what's best for you in your life. Because at the end of the day, the company, the organization, they're going to be the ones that are going to look out for themselves, and you're going to have to be the one to look out for yourself, right? So just something to consider. I'll see you guys next time. Keep an eye out for Monday's video where we talk about, are you a right fit to be a developer? What type of person would like to be a developer? And this is something that I think a few people are expecting, the should you be a developer in 2018 video. And I talked more so about the finances, about the job stuff. This is going to be more, what type of person would make a good developer video? And I think it's going to answer a lot of good questions for you. So take a look at that coming out Monday. See you next time. Bye, guys.